How's it going, Starseekers? My name's Gotcake, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game called Task Force Kampas, a shoot 'em up which features randomly generated stages and draws inspiration from the Japanese shmups of yesteryears. As always, hit that like button if this review helps you out, and consider subscribing for future Switch indie game reviews. So the game opens up with a nice little epilepsy warning, and then we get a brief on the controls, which are as simple as they come. Aside from the analog stick or D-pad movement controls, you only need to know the shoot button, which is either Y or the R bumper. Hitting the main menu, we can see the game features the standard aspect ratio of most classic shmups, and we have a few simple menu options. The how to play menu elaborates a little on the game's mechanics, and taking a look at the options menu, we can see we've got a few settings available to us, starting with the sound setting, which has 3 levels, high, low and off, and these modify both the sound effects and the music for the game. There are 5 difficulty settings in the game, only normal and easy are unlocked at first, but hard, extreme and ultra extreme can be unlocked if you manage to beat the previous difficulty settings. There's also a filter options which changes the visual filters in the game, and the default is sort of a messy scanlines look, which I honestly found a bit of an eyesore, but you can turn this off by selecting none. And there are also 5 other filters which are unlocked by beating the game with its different ships. Speaking of which, if we hit play from the main menu, we get to select one of said ships. So each ship is cleverly colour coded and each comes with their own special bonus. Only 3 are unlocked to begin with, but the 2 additional ships can be unlocked through gameplay. The first you unlock will likely be the red and green ship Sneaking, whose pilot unknown looks like she's about to throw up. And the second unlockable ship is Cocoa King, which is unlocked by saving a load of Cocos. So I first began the game with a standard filter on, and the visuals are much darker than with no filter applied. I found it very difficult to keep track of my ship amongst the enemies and projectiles, especially with the screen shake that occurs when you kill enemies and the red filter that's applied when you take a hit or are on low health. If like me you're not great at shmups, I'd advise turning the filter off. Now, levels in the game are randomly generated, which means different types of enemies appear at random in different numbers. For the most part, gameplay is pretty standard, with enemies appearing from the top of the screen firing down towards you at the bottom. As you kill more enemies, your weapon's power, indicated by the bar in the bottom right of the screen, will increase, which increases the number of projectiles you fire, and there are 3 levels of power. Taking a hit will drop this bar back down to 1, which is basically a death sentence if you fire into a level and have lots of enemies coming at you. You'll also get a shield that protects you from any damage for a few seconds, and your life bar shown in the bottom right allows you to take a few hits and will regenerate if you stop firing. Of course, if you lose all your health, it's game over, and an end screen will show your stats and allow you to enter your initials if you've gained a new high score. So the first stage in the game features a few different enemies. These include meteorites that slowly drift down the screen and look like Swiss cheese, these eyeballs which are very similar to the enemies in Red Death, another shmup I recently reviewed, and these orange spinny enemies who have a shield around them and bounce all over the screen. The worst enemy of all though is these missiles which creep down the sides of the screen before launching themselves at you. Some of them travel slow, but some come at a right rate of knots and plough into you before you even notice them. When you hit the halfway point of the level, around 1 minute 35, some large letters will float down which are power-ups, and you get to pick between 2. The S is for Super Shot, which increases the size of your shots. D is for Double Shot, which further increases the number of projectiles that you fire. And H is for Health Up, which restores your health to full, but doesn't seem to increase your health from what I noticed. Following this, you'll battle through the second half of the level before coming face to face with the first boss, the Squid. Now, bosses in the game aren't randomised and return to the standard shmup formula, and the first boss felt like a definite difficulty spike even on easy mode. Boss projectiles take on the standard bullet hell format, and each boss features a number of attack phases as its health's reduced. As before, if you take a hit, your attack power is reset to 1 and power-ups are removed. And maybe it's just because I'm bad at the game, but I found it impossible to avoid every projectile. After several tries and failures, I actually managed to beat the boss, and without warning I was thrust straight into the next level. If you want to take a breather, you'll have to pause the game, where you're given some nice relaxing music and some motivational sentences such as "relax," "zigzag recommended," and "they will win." But my personal favourites have to be "brush your teeth" and "go look in the fridge." The second level kicks things up a notch straight away by throwing a significant number of enemies your way. There are some new ones like this big bullet, and as mentioned before, your power-ups are removed, making things tougher. Being as bad as I am, I was pretty much overwhelmed straight away, and once more found myself facing the game over screen. So as you may have gathered if you watched my previous review of Red Death, when it comes to shmups I'm pretty terrible, and this game is no exception, but I've played quite a few of them over my lifetime, so I'll outline the observations of what I managed to play through with Task Force Kampas. Firstly, the randomised level element I didn't really enjoy. While this increases variety to levels, it also means that you got no way of becoming familiar with a set way of beating a level, which is something that people like myself rely on in order to get better at the game. It also meant that level difficulty was inconsistent, as one time you might play through a steady flow of enemies, but the next time you may get a whole bunch of them appear at once, filling the screen with projectiles. I also wasn't a big fan of the standard filter the game applies, and it began to hurt my eyes after a while. Of course you can turn it off in the options, but what's really annoying is that the game reverts back to the standard filter for a short duration after you take a hit, and the filter stays on for as long as you remain on low health. Whilst battling against the squid boss, its attack patterns weren't complicated, but the game doesn't feature any sort of slowdown mechanic to allow you to guide your ship more accurately through them. I found this made it incredibly difficult to dodge attacks, as even slight taps of the D-pad move you quite a distance. The analog stick is more precise, but you gotta be so gentle with it, which is pretty hard considering the size of the sticks on the Switch. I think there should have also been an option included to enable auto fire, with the fire button instead stopping your fire, as having to constantly hold the button can become tiresome, especially in handheld mode. I like that the game provided you a choice of ships, and while they don't have much to distinguish them from one another, their unique abilities still provided a bit of gameplay variety. Finally, I think the unlockable filters were a fun addition to the game and would have liked to see what they all look like, but alas, I'm just too bad at these type of games to be granted such grand rewards. So I rate games between 1 and 5 stars, with a shovelware stamp of approval awarded to only the worst eShop titles. This rating's based on my own personal opinion on quality of gameplay and what a game has to offer in terms of value for money for potential buyers. And as a rating, I'd give Task Force Kampas 2 out of 5 stars. While I have limited experience on the quantity of gameplay on offer, from the little that I did experience, I can say the game would likely appeal more to the hardcore fans of the shmup genre. I feel the randomised levels and the lack of slowdown mechanics make the game a little less accessible for more casual players, and like me they'll probably struggle to even beat the first boss. So you can get the game now from the UK Switch eStore for £4.31, or from the US eStore for $4.79, discounted from $5.99. The game's also available for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. And that's about it for this review of Task Force Kampas. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for future Switch indie game reviews. For now though, I just want to say thanks once again for watching, and until next time, game on.